Hello, and happy Wednesday. Welcome to another episode of They Say. I am so excited for this guest and just to be here for another day. I am Allison McFarland, founder and CEO of Allison McFarland Inc., your personal branding specialist. I live in that lane, love that lane, and appreciate that lane. But enough about me. Let's talk about this superstar, this rock star
Oh
that I
my
have
goodness.
had the pleasure of getting to know through the years. And he is just as phenomenal in person as he is online. I just was telling him how authentic he is and what a great leader I
Appreciate
know him to be. So I'm honored that Damon said yes to me. Whenever anybody says yes, especially I'm very intentional about who I bring on They Say. So when I get people on here, it's because I'm also inspired by them. So I'm excited he said yes. And Damon, please tell them why I already told them why I think you're amazing, but you can definitely share.
I appreciate that. First of all, let me say thank you to you. When you said come on your podcast, it was can we do it today? I'm ready to do this right now because you are like the superstar in the making. You're already out there doing big things. And just to be connected with you, it's going to rub off greatly on me. And I'm excited about it.
Okay, I love it.
I'm excited about it. But yes, Damon Rogers, born and raised right here in Houston, Texas. Most of my family is here. Most of my wife's family is here. I'm in the insurance industry, commercial insurance industry been here for about 3 years. I'm still relatively new in this space. Worked almost 20 years in retail, loss prevention. Oh, it was amazing. Did that for almost 20 years. Transitioned out of that, got into pharmaceutical sales. Did that for close to 7 years. Transitioned out of that, and now I'm in the commercial insurance space, and I love it.
This is why I called this episode 18, the purposeful pivot, because you have had some major pivots.
I
But
have.
each pivot, I feel like you've leveled up. And you just really, I feel like I believe you're at your calling, like you're answering the call now. I believe this is your lane. You are thriving. It's beyond insurance, but insurance is the vehicle. But I believe like this is it for you. Like you have found your space.
It's funny that you say that because the 20 years in retail between two Fortune 500 companies, I loved that space.
Mhm.
And then when I made the transition into pharmaceutical sales, I got to tell you, it was tough for me. It was like learning a brand new language. And that transition was tough. It was a transition that I needed to make. And probably about 4.5, 5 years into that, I saw that wasn't a good fit for me. And
Mm.
so I started making my exit plan and I started talking to friends and family, people that know me, people that are in sales. I said, hey, look, I love sales. I need to get out of this. Give me some advice. And they started talking about insurance. And I tell you, when I first heard insurance, I got, ugh, I don't want to do that. I don't
Yeah.
want to do insurance. That did not sound like me. But the more conversations I had, and as I started to dig into it, and subsequently I met my wife in this insurance space, I saw it was a good transition for me. So 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago, made the jump into the commercial insurance space.
And
Uh,
you're thriving. You're thriving. And
I'm,
you were thriving and because I think I met you right when you started.
yeah, you thought
Is
I
that
had been a lot longer.
huh?
You thought I had been in a lot longer.
I did, but I think I met you right when you had just got to Cadence and you were just kind of
Right,
sorting it out because I was like, man, you're absolutely correct. I did think it would have been a lot longer.
right. It's funny. I had a conversation with my son, my 15-year-old. He said, Dad, like, what do you do every day? And I said, well, I go to galas, I go to events, I go to lunches, I take people out, we have conversations and, I volunteer and aside from that, I try to sell some insurance. So those other things are important. And then I get to do my job as well.
Yeah.
Um, and you probably had that feeling too. It's like I wake up some mornings, I'm like, I'm getting paid to do this. Someone's paying me to do the thing that I would do for free.
Right.
It's amazing. It's an amazing feeling.
It truly is. And I definitely agree with you. So let's kind of start with your journey because I know not a native Houstonian. I'm an honorary one now. It's not often you meet natives. So I don't know a lot of people that are actually from Houston. So kind of tell us about how your journey started, Damon, because you have such an interesting story.
You know what? I grew up in Missouri City. Went to Willow Ridge High School, graduated. I won't say my day, I'm aging myself a little bit. Went to Texas Southern. After Texas Southern, I kind of made my way into the loss prevention space, kind of promoted up through the ranks. And that whole time I've been here in Houston. I had an opportunity or two to move to Atlanta and do different things early in my career, but I decided to stay right here in Houston. And you know what? It's been phenomenal because I'm still close to family. I'm still close to my friends, but I've been able to leverage the opportunities and have different careers right here in the same city that I have been born and raised in. So that's been pretty amazing.
That is awesome. So talk to us about that loss prevention space. So how does one come out of college and end up in loss prevention?
You know what? Kind of like a lot of things that have happened to me, it was kind of by chance. It was very much an accident. I was in college. I was kind of working part-time, and my part-time job was at Target. And this some folks may know the locations I'm about to state. The store that I worked at was off of West Belford and Fondren.
Wow.
This was in a rough side of town.
Wow.
And one day someone came in my department. I worked in electronics, and guy had on a suit, looked nice, clean cut, and he had a basket, and he went over and grabbed a TV and put it in his basket. And he turned around and he walked out of my department. I said, "Where is he going?" Mm-hmm. So I called up front and said, "Hey, this he's walking out with the TV."
Yeah.
When I got to the front, I saw the loss prevention people like stop him at the door.
Wow.
And bring him back in. And I didn't even know we had loss prevention. And that piqued my interest. And I said, "Hey, how do I get on your team?" And they said, "You know what? We've been watching you and you're a good employee. We actually want you to work with us." So that was my introduction into loss prevention.
I love it. And what a great introduction. Somebody stealing a TV.
Right. It was perfect.
Yeah. Like you just you literally walked into that.
Exactly. So I did that.
So then from there, you went to pharmaceutical sales. Mm-hmm. So how was that? Like, when did you know I'm tired of loss prevention? Like, what made you pivot? When did you know it was time for something else?
That's a great question. You know what? There's a lot of components to that. And I think one that probably was kind of always in the back of my mind, but I never really flushed it out, was in that loss prevention space, I was apprehending thieves, dishonest employees. Allison, a lot of those folks look like me. Mm-hmm. And you can only do that for so long before it just starts to wear on you, right? And that was wearing on me. Yeah. And the job itself was one that I had to travel all the time, and that was wearing on my family. Yeah. And I needed to do something different. Yeah. So in making that step from that loss prevention role, which I had promoted up to a district level, I had Houston, I had San Antonio, I had Austin, I had the Valley. So I was always on the road. Didn't see my family most of the time. And then my ex-wife at the time said, "You know what? I feel like a single mom." Mm-hmm. And that was a rude awakening for me. I had to make some changes. Yeah. So made that change into the pharmaceutical sales space. And initially it was a good fit for me. But about 3.5, 4 years in, I said, this is not the right fit yet. So I had to make a transition out of that as well. And sometimes, you kind of mentioned it earlier, it wasn't a step up. That step into the pharmaceutical space was a step back for me. Yeah. Step back in pay, a step back in, I go from a position where I'm the expert, where I know it all, where I have a team, to I'm just one of the people again, right? I'm starting at the bottom and working my way back up at the top. Yeah. Trying to get to the top. So that was tough. It was tough financially. It was tough emotionally. It was tough. I'm not gonna lie. It's tough on my pride. Yeah. But when I look back on that transition from those two jobs helped me to walk in this transition into this career. I would not be here now had I not gone through that period of transitioning. It was necessary.
So speak to the necessariness of that transition, because I think right now, and I say this, I don't think every day say, but I don't think I know I see it. We're in a transition in the world, like a large, like a worldwide transition. Right. So how do you grasp such a major transition and not lose yourself in the process?
That's the hard part, because I think I did lose part of myself in the process because I had aligned my personality to that career that I had. Mm-hmm. And so when I left, it's like I lost a part of me.
Right.
But that was necessary. I needed to break off that part of me to prepare me for some different things I needed to do. So that breakage was necessary, right?
Mhm.
And so then going into the space that was kind of an in-between space, learning something new, being a rookie again, not
Yeah.
having the answers, having to ask for help,
Yeah.
all those skills that I hadn't had to really do because I've been the district person, I had to learn all over again. But that learning was necessary for me to step into this space to learn all over again, right?
Mm.
So it was necessary. I had to be humble in that process to be able to be in a position where I could actually thrive.
That's good. So what I take from that is the humbling. It was a shedding of an identity, right? And I
Yes,
think I don't think just you. I think it's all happens to all of us where we tie our whole personality to what we do, what
right,
we have, how we are seen. We tie everything to that. So to go through a transition of loss and figure out who you are coming out on the other end of that,
right,
it's a shedding, truly. So I totally understand.
right.
And it's a shedding and it's a strengthening, but then it's also like it's a grieving you go through. You
It
grieve
is.
each word.
It is. I missed that job. I was like, oh man, I love that job. I missed it. I missed the people. I missed the culture. But I knew if I wanted to do something different, more in alignment with kind of who I am as an individual, I had to go through that process.
Okay.
And then sometimes the process, it just hurts.
Yeah.
And there's no getting around it. There's no shortcut. There's no, let's just microwave this thing and I'll be on the other side. No, you have to go through, like you said, I grieved that job. I grieved the status that I had in that job. So going from that status to a lower status, that hurt.
Yeah.
There's pride involved. You got to tell your friends, well, I'm not, I don't do that anymore. Took a pay cut, all the things that just feel bad to say. It was
Yeah.
part of the process.
Yeah. Well, that's good. But I commend you for being vulnerable and being okay with saying that that is part of the process. Because how many of us pretend like everything is okay and probably everything behind us is falling apart,
Right.
but we don't want to show up in a space where we are vulnerable and people
Right.
are seeing, hey, you know what, everything is not okay.
Right.
So I commend you for that.
Yeah. I mean, I can say that to you today.
Mm-hmm.
If you asked me that a few years ago, I might have hedged a little bit, right? I might have told you something different.
Yeah.
But I can say it to you today because one of the things I'm very clear about, Allison, is that all the things that have happened to me in the entire trajectory of my life, good and bad, the bad things have done better for me than those good things. And that sounds contradictory, but I tell you, I would keep all of the bad things and I would
Mhm.
give away many of the good things.
Wow. That's powerful because it makes me think of that one verse, all things work together for the good, right?
Right.
All things. So that's what it makes me think of. But to hear you say that your bad was more of a was more like it sounds like it was more powerful than the good because it
It
really
was.
built you into who you are.
It was. Those bad things stretch you. Those bad things create pressure. Those bad things force you have to look and analyze and dig deeper. Those bad things create that within you. Those good things, they feel good, but what do they really do for you other than feeling good for the moment, right? The
That's
bad things have helped me to transition to get to the place where I am today.
wow. That's powerful, David. That is powerful. And I commend you. That's powerful. So let's talk about that next step, right? So let's talk because now you're in insurance and you don't I feel like if you're a salesperson, which you went through, I don't know if loss prevention doesn't really sell anything, but that insurance period or the pharmaceutical sales you were selling, but now you're in complete selling.
I'm,
So how
in,
is that
I'm completely selling
completely
with the expectation that over the course of time, my salary will be 100% commission. So,
oh,
yeah.
talk about it.
Look. If you would have told me when I was in my loss prevention career that I would be in a job in the future that was 100% commission, I would tell you got the wrong person. No,
Wow.
I want that steady check.
Yeah.
I want to know how much is coming. I want to be able
Right.
to bank on that right. But again, the process of transitioning to something new, you have to shed some things to be ready to take on some new things. And the new thing was that I'm going to say false sense of security that you have with that steady paycheck. It's a false sense of security, right? You get happy about it. You don't stretch yourself. When you're in commission sales, you got to get after it every day, right?
Just
You can't just sit around. Right. You got to get after it. And so being in that pharmaceutical space selling prepped me for being in the space of commercial insurance selling as well. And it also helped me because I'm not a natural salesperson. What I mean by that, I don't come at it at a way that many salespeople do. I don't like salespeople, right?
Okay.
And I'm a salesperson.
Okay.
Because they come at it too hard.
Yeah.
And I don't come at people hard like that. I really just try to educate. I try to train, mentor, and in the process of knowing someone, knowing more about them, being an advocate, those conversations will open up, right?
Yep. You're very relationship driven. I think that's why like you're one of my favorites because I feel like me and you sell very similar. So I can be a shark, right? I used to sell cell phones, and to be able to sell cell phones, you had to be a shark. And then I was in the mall selling cell phones when everybody was selling cell phone. So it was a level of sharkity you had to have.
Right.
Made up a word. But I really feel like as I've transitioned and grown too throughout my career, I'm more relationship driven than anything. Yeah. And that is a beautiful thing because I have clients from 8 years ago, 9 years ago, 10 years ago that still call me about stuff. And it's not even stuff that I could possibly have nothing to do with now, but I'm grateful that they're willing to still pick up the phone and be like, hey, Alex, can you point me in the right direction? What's going on with this? How's your daughter? What's going on?
Right.
I think that's what's missing in the world. We're so transactional. And I feel like what's missing is the fact that we don't understand the value of relationships.
Yes. Yeah. We're having conversations with other humans.
Yeah.
So let's have a human conversation. And you may or may not see this or notice this, but I am 100% an introvert. Like I am 1,000% an introvert, right? So when you think of the typical salesperson, right, the outgoing, like that's not me. I'm more low key. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about family. Let's talk about, what's your journey? How did you get here? All of those other nuances and soft pieces. And then when there's an opportunity, when something comes up, I want you to think about me first, right? Oh, I remember Damon. We had a conversation. Yeah. She showed me pictures of his kids and we have things in common. There's some likeness into what we do. I want to give Damon a call.
Yep. And that's so true. That speaks to your leadership. So let's talk about your leadership, Damon, because I feel like you're so much more than your title as an insurance agent. That's what I think I just love about you, because there's so many layers, but you have layered it to where it's seamless. You don't have to try too hard to get to the layers. Like it's just very natural and very seamless. So talk to me about your leadership, because you are such a leader. And not just at work. You're a leader in the community. You're out there advocating. Whenever I call you and tell you, hey, Damon, you need to know somebody, let me introduce you. You're like, okay, Allison, tell me when. And I so appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you saying that. And for me, it's just about just trying to be present in the moment and in the moment. Mm-hmm. I only have so much that I can do. My bandwidth is limited, but when I see an opportunity to give back when I can, to pour into someone's life when I can, to just be that voice of positivity or that voice of reason, I try to do that.
Right.
That's what you see on my LinkedIn. I just try to be that shining voice in the middle of all the chaos that's out there, because you could get caught up in the minutia of all the negative things out in the world. And I just try to be a different voice than that. And it just takes some intentionality, right? You have to be very purposeful and mindful of sounding and looking and talking different than everyone else.
That's good. That's good. And you definitely do it. There's this post that you did, and I think it was, I don't want to say, I can't remember if you worked at Ross, but it wasn't Ross.
TJ Maxx.
TJ Maxx. Okay, one of them. When one of your colleagues was retiring, and I still remember that post, and I promise you that was not that wasn't recent. That was a while ago. But that post there was something that I will never forget because of you talking about being intentional. You talked about being intentional articles. You talked about being intentional,
Yeah,
and
just
that
yep.
was a very intentional post.
Yeah, and for me, it was about honoring that district manager who had invested his pretty much his life, right, to the organization, and he left. It's one thing to retire, but it's another thing to leave, and your colleagues are there praising you. Your colleagues are just giving you accolades because you left such an incredible mark on everyone that you touched. And I wanted to be there for that day because he impacted me as well.
Wow.
So the post just kind of reflected my sentiment and my gratitude toward him for the career that he lived.
And that's powerful because I swear that post was a couple of years ago, and I
Yeah, it
still
was. It was a couple of years ago.
I still remember it because it was so sincere. And I think that's what I appreciate about it. It was such a sincere post, and you were really giving this man his flowers. And you are already out here selling insurance, moved on, doing something totally different. But it reminded me that you really didn't forget about those who had poured into you or
Right,
those who helped you get to where you're at.
right, right. That's important. I think, like you said, just remembering and just it's an honoring as well, just honoring the effort and the work and the energy and the person that he was. This is a
Yeah,
great man.
right.
And I know he was a great man at home too, because he was a great man to the employees, the people that worked with him. He was fair. He was kind. He got things done. Because typically you think fair and kind, oh, they don't get things done. No, he got things done. And he was fair and kind, which is a rare combination in this world. You tend to see one or the other,
Yeah,
right?
not both.
So, yeah, definitely wanted to honor him in
Wow.
his retirement.
That's powerful because you're right. You don't see both. So, as you transition to your role in cadences and your insurance and 100% commission, how has that been for you? How is the insurance world? Open us up to that world. Let us know more.
Yeah, the insurance world is great, and it was a big transition for me because I knew zero about insurance walking in the door.
Mhm.
But the biggest eye opening moment for me was that I didn't have enough network. I've been on LinkedIn, I don't know, 10, 11 years and never really networked, right? Never really, not just on LinkedIn, but just personally. I didn't really have the need to, or I thought I
Mhm.
didn't have the need to. But what I quickly realized about 2 months in is that if I don't start to build up a network, I will not be successful in this industry.
Wow.
And so the out of all the things that I started to examine on how to do that, LinkedIn was the quickest, it was the easiest, and it was the most cost-effective way to do that.
Yeah.
Um, so what kind of started as a okay, I have to build up my network turned into like this is a great platform to just start to create
Right.
my own brand that
Mhm.
is separate from what I do, right?
Yeah.
This is more representation of who I am, and I do this as a vocation, but this is who I am.
Yeah. So let's talk about your personal brand. Since you opened up the door, we're gonna walk right in it. Let's talk about it because I know what I see. So tell us about your personal brand and how you've been able to lay it out and just really expand it.
Yeah. So for me, it's about number one, just being authentic, being true, being in some situations where it's appropriate, being transparent.
Yeah.
Because I think what happens is, as a human, we connect easier with another human when we see something similar in us. Um, if I see something, I'm going through your post, I say, you know what, man, Allison touched on something that I've experienced as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay connected with her because that really moved me, right? And so that's my goal is to create opportunities for connection through um, through intimate conversations, through intimate dialogue, through intimate things that I share, and those conversations lead to other things. And it's been crazy. And at first, I was really resistant to doing that because no one around me was doing that.
Right.
And I still get asked questions like, "Why'd you post that?
You're right.
Are you getting anything out of that?" And to me, that's not my goal. Is to get something out of it. My goal is to create a community of like-minded people that want to be connected with me.
Golf clap. Golf clap. Because you said something. So I'm going to like piggyback on three things that you said. I told you, and I'm going to just say it now on here because I already told you. When we were talking before we got on, I was like, Damon, you made it so easy. I have people that have hundreds of thousands of followers to a couple followers. And I said, I don't know if you realize the community you've built around you, but I said, I put that picture out, let everybody know. And before, I think maybe 30 minutes in, and maybe even an hour, you had about 5 people ready to come and watch your They Say. So I believe that we often get so enamored by numbers.
Right.
But numbers don't matter if you don't have the engagement.
Right.
If people are not willing to pick up what you're putting down,
right.
you just have a bunch of numbers.
Right. Right. What's the point?
Yeah.
Right. And I look at it, I try to cultivate that. I almost look at it as my own little city.
Yeah.
My own little community. And how do I want to inspire my community? I get to choose the words that I use, the tone that I use, the pictures I put out for the community that is with me.
Right.
So I'm going to choose something that's going to have a positive impact on them, something that I would want to see that would motivate me. So when I look at it through that lens, it becomes pretty clear.
No, and I think so. And like I told you this, and I agree, the more you're so like tangible, you're not far off, you're not a mystical figure. And I think we're at a point where people want to do business with real people that have real struggles, that have experienced real life issues, that have overcome their issues, or are still walking it out. We're not expecting perfection, but we just want to know that you are flawed and, you know, you're just trying to figure it out.
Right.
And I think that's why I just appreciate you so much, because I'm also remembering when your son started working at Chick-fil-A and you put the picture up. I could, like, people don't understand. Like, I pay attention. Like, I could probably tell Damien these 4 posts that have really touched me. And the Chick-fil-A one with your 15-year-old son getting his job, that really touched me.
Yeah.
And I think that was awesome. And just as just like a father and just like a man and just showing your proudness of your son like that. Yeah. I was so excited.
It's funny because that particular post, even me thinking about it right now, I got to control myself because I'm going to start tearing up.
Okay.
There's so many layers to that, because one of the layers is that his mother and I divorced.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a divorcee, you never quite know what your children think about you. You don't know. And so me showing up at his job wasn't just me showing up unannounced. It was me showing up. How is he feeling about me today? Is he liking his dad today? Is me showing up going to be a trauma event for him, or is it going to be a good thing for him? So It wasn't just I'm showing up unannounced at his job. It's like I'm taking a risk by walking in the door and seeing my 18-year-old son and not knowing what his response will be to me today. But I took the risk anyway.
Yes. And I said 15. I'm at 18. So forgive me, son.
Yes. Oh, no worries. No worries. No worries. And I mean, it was a beautiful moment. I mean, it's one that I will remember probably the rest of my life.
No, it's a community moment. It's one I won't forget, because it was powerful. That picture was powerful because it made me feel like, Mom and Dad, you did something right.
Right.
Like, it made me feel like, oh gosh, it was so, like, I'm just thinking about it, I'm getting excited. It's just so, it was a powerful picture because it was so relatable.
Right.
But it also made you, and it also showed the vulnerability, but it also showed the relatability. So I think that's why I said you're not far off. You're not this mystical figure and I just really appreciate that about you.
I appreciate you saying that. Yeah. It's funny. I know you experience this because you are very active on LinkedIn. Nod when this resonates for you. Okay. I'll be out and about. I will run into someone who I've never met in real life that might be on LinkedIn and that says, "Oh, I saw your post."
Yeah.
I'm like, who are you? Like, they didn't like it, they didn't follow me, they didn't connect, but they read it, right? It came across their feed and they read it and they recognized my face and they tell me the story.
Yeah.
Of what I posted. It's like, oh, I love that story. I read it to my friend, blah, 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 or coworkers. Like that. That's huge, right?
Yeah.
To the point, it becomes relatable to other people.
It does. And I think that's what people are looking for. They're looking for people that leaders, not just people. They're looking for leaders and people that are tangible and that are relatable. And
Yeah.
I think that's why storytelling and just being your authentic self is important. So, as my favorite thing to say, and they say. So I know when I told you, I was like, Damon, I want you on They Say. And you're like, Allison, what's They Say about? And I was telling you, well, I want you to tell us about times you've overcome opposition where people said you couldn't do something and you knocked it out the park. So
Ooh.
tell us a time, Damon, besides your purpose pivot. Tell us a time where someone has underestimated you.
I'm gonna get a little deep on this one.
Okay,
Right.
let's go.
I'm going to say my old self underestimated my new self.
Mm,
As I was making the transition and I knew I wanted to get into a new field that would be very challenging for me, my old self kept saying, you can't do this.
wow.
My old self kept saying, there's not a lot of folks out there like you in that space.
Hmm.
There aren't a lot of Black insurance producers in the commercial insurance arena like you.
Yeah.
Not only are you going to be a unicorn in the industry, but you're going to be a unicorn amongst other Black folks in the industry. And
Facts.
I had to every day overcome, overcome, overcome that voice that's telling me, no, you can't do this.
Right.
And here I am 3 years later doing this. So
And not
no
just
one else, no one else has the power. It's in my own thoughts that have more power than anyone else can ever say to me.
yeah.
So I think that's been the they say moment for me.
I love it. And the fact that you're not just doing it, you're doing it at a high level. And you're able to sustain your life and build a beautiful life for your family. So I commend you for getting over your own they say.
Yeah,
And I'm pretty sure you continuously have to keep pushing yourself to go further, quicker, farther, faster. So
absolutely.
I commend you for just staying in that place with yourself to allowing yourself to be pushed.
I appreciate that.
So as we come to an end, what are you working on and how do we find you? So if we see you in the street, we can be like, hello. And then who are your clients? Like, tell us what, and then also tell us who your clients are. So definitely want you to,
So in this
I,
space, I touch a little bit of everything, but my sweet spot is I love dealing with entities that are supporting homelessness, entities that are supporting the underserved, entities that are supporting and helping out with food insecurities, entities that are helping with senior care, senior living, all of the things that are helping the community. I love supporting those entities from a commercial insurance standpoint. I mean, again, like I said earlier, I wake up many days and think, I'm getting paid to do this. I would do this for free.
yeah.
Um, so you can find me at, my cell phone number, 832-499-4434, damon.rogers@cadenceinsurance.com. Give me a call, send me an email. I can help you out. And even outside of that, I just want to be involved with those entities because I want to see how they work. I want to understand how they run. I want to be a conduit. So as I hear conversations here and there, oh, so-and-so is doing this. You need to be connected with this person. Oh, so-and-so is doing that. I need to let you talk to this person. Let me make an introduction. To me, that garners as much excitement for me as if I bring someone as a client. Whether or not that happens, I still want to connect people.
Powerful, powerful, powerful. This is why he was on They Say, guys. And as always, I am Allison McFarland, founder and CEO of Allison McFarland Inc., your personal branding expert. I live in that space. I love that space. I think it's important. And Damon has an AMI personal brand that we approve. Is a personal brand. Like he hit it right on the head. He's authentic. That's the first thing I would think of when I see him. I think of him as a leader, not just in work, but definitely out in the community. So I am honored that you said yes to me. I'm honored that you took this time away from your family to speak to me today. And this They Say is special to me because I've gotten to see you level up. So
Yeah.
I'm excited. I can't wait. I feel like you're like a rocket. So I'm excited to see what's next and what other mountains you will climb.
Well, I appreciate it, Allison. Thank you for the invite. And we met via LinkedIn, right?
Yes.
I think we did. Like our connection initiated via LinkedIn, right?
Yes, through what's the lady that has the
It was who was it?
because you know a bunch of people.
Yeah, you know a bunch of people too. I can't remember.
I can't either, but
Yeah, and
she
so
had, yes, she introduced us, and it was a great introduction. I've held on to them tight. So I'm one of those connectors. I'm not gonna let you go.
right, right.
To keep my connections close. So yeah, no, you're right. So a couple of things that you said that I want to like hit on before we leave.
Okay.
The power of LinkedIn, the power of pivoting, the power of leadership, and just the power of your authenticity and owning your space.
Yeah.
Those are powerful things that Damon